And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. Week 6 review, or week 7. Well, I guess this will be the 7th week, but it's officially week 6.
We had it was a big week.
It was a big week, huge week.
A really good week.
I guess we'll start with Coastal Carolina knocking off Arizona State 52-20. Arkansas State. Yeah, well, they got demolished. Anyway, moving right along, Cincinnati defeated Temple. They're number 5 team in the country. They continue to roll.
They look good. I watched most of that game. They look good.
Yes, I hear good things about that game as well.
Their schedule sets up so nicely for them to go undefeated and then for them to just get left out of the playoffs, which we'll discuss that in a second.
We will definitely discuss that because we have a major shakeup in the land of college football. Arizona State knocked off Stanford 28-10. Did you get to see any of this?
I watched a little bit of that game. Kind of fell asleep. I hate to admit.
You're getting a little older.
I know.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started on the Saturday, the big game of the day. Well, there were a ton of some big games Saturday. Alabama was knocked off by Texas A&M. This was a thriller. We were watching it at Brett's house, and A&M came to play.
They did. They jumped out to a pretty big lead. Played very well. Defense was pressuring Bryce Young all game. And then Alabama had the block punt. And that's when I kind of felt things were about to turn around for Alabama. And I was like, okay, I've seen this before. Mm-hmm. You know, Alabama kind of gets tested. And then they said, okay, let's quit screwing around. Mm-hmm. And then they come out and win the game. Well, on the ensuing kickoff, A&M dude runs it all the way back for a touchdown. And you're like, okay, this game is going to get interesting. And it did. Once again, Alabama came down the field and scored a touchdown late. And I thought Alabama was going to take control, and then credit to Calzada. Dude came in and threw a touchdown pass, got hurt doing it, and comes back in the game after they get a stop. They go kick the field goal, and it's just one of them crazy, crazy games that you kept waiting for Alabama to seize the moment, and they just never really could get it clicking.
Well, I mean, they got it back. They tied the game up, and A&M they kicked that field goal late, and
I realized, like I'm saying, like I kept waiting for Alabama to take control of the game, and I'm not giving A&M any credit. They deserve all the credit in the world. Right. It's not often that Alabama gets beat, so you're just kind of you're kind of conditioned to just expect Alabama to kind of we're down, we're gonna come back and tie it up, take the lead, and just didn't really work out that way. So great game. Hats off to A&M. Absolutely. They played awesome. Unranked.
Yes.
Texas A&M.
And they were highly touted earlier in the season before the season started, and they played like it.
Mm-hmm. They played like they were supposed to play.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Georgia knocks off Auburn 34-10. We were watching this together, and Georgia played well. Auburn, I mean, Patrick Bo Nix all over the field. I mean, he is Auburn's offense right now. Yeah,
I know Bigsby's not 100%. Auburn's got a pretty good run game. That true freshman they got, that's kind of a smaller guy, is pretty good. Shivers is pretty good, running the football, catching the ball in the backfield. But Bigsby's like the main guy, and he wasn't 100%. He played pretty well yesterday. But Bo Nix is that offense. That dude will just scramble around, make something out of nothing. That big play 2 weeks ago against LSU, that's what the dude does like 3 or 4 times a game. Right. He did it in this one a couple times, extended plays, completed passes. Yeah. Auburn always has a little bit of that rabbit's foot in their pocket when they're playing at home. Right. So I expected this to be a little bit closer than it was.
It felt like it.
It did. And Auburn drove the length of the field twice. And one of them kicked the field goal, and then the other one, I think they turned it over on downs, inside the 10. They, I think, at least offensively, tested Georgia more than they really have been.
Right.
But every time Auburn did something, and they didn't score a whole lot of points, but every time they kind of had a little drive going on, and then the Georgia defense stopped them, Georgia's offense was right there to answer. Mm-hmm. I think the offense played very well, especially second half. They just ran the ball at will. Second half. It's a good game.
It's a great game. Penn State, Iowa, another great game. Penn State loses to Iowa 23-20. Iowa, it was a battle of 3 versus 4, and Iowa's, I think are they sitting 2 now? Yeah, I guess they're sitting number 2 right now.
Yeah, I mean, they played well. They were down, and things were looking good for Penn State, and then the QB goes down with an injury, and they bring in the backup, and they just didn't look like Penn State after that. And it's kind of, it was unfortunate. The kid goes down. Iowa was down a good bit. They came back, scored a really nice touchdown, I believe, before half. And then had the TD to end it, to seal the victory late. So you got to give credit to Iowa. Penn State still, I think, if they get the QB come back, they're going to still be a pretty good team in the Big Ten. Iowa's controlling things right now on that side. So, we've said it many times on this channel. Big Ten's going to be a lot of fun this year.
And they are proving to be. Speaking of, this is Big 12. Oklahoma and Texas, what a game. What a game. Spencer Rattler has lost his job.
Yeah, one of the more entertaining games I think I've seen in a long time. Texas was up big. First play of the game was a long touchdown pass, but they were up big and they just couldn't hold on. The whole thing switched when Caleb Williams came in. I think that's the name. Caleb Williams came in the game. Rattler didn't look good, threw a pick, had an ugly-looking fumble that. I'm like, how do you fumble that right there? Yeah. He gets benched. They bring in Caleb. Kid just looks the part. Yeah. I mean, he was kind of – there was some luck happening. And one thing I want to say about this, and I mentioned earlier, Cincinnati getting left out of the playoffs. Caleb Williams gives them a whole different look on offense. Right. I mean, he was kind of throwing some passes that were like ill-advised, like my guy's better than your guy kind of deal. Yeah. Throwing it out there, letting the wideout make a play. But man, both teams couldn't tackle anybody. Texas couldn't cover. Oklahoma couldn't cover. When running backs got the football, nobody on either team could tackle them. They couldn't wrap up. It was ugly. Oklahoma's going to get in the playoffs because the pollsters and the playoff committee is going to look at them and say, okay, this Caleb Williams kid, he's a real deal. They're a different team. They're going to roll through the rest of their schedule now, make the playoffs, and probably get beat because playing against a Georgia, Ohio State. I'm going to throw Alabama in there. If they can't play defense against a team that can play defense, they're going to be in trouble. Right. I don't think they deserve the ranking. I mean, that was a great win. Everything was awesome. They're undefeated. You got to give them credit. They've survived in advance, but man, they don't look good doing it. Each week they struggle, and also they find a way to win, which is great. But the teams that are elite might have one or two of those games a year. The rest of them, they just dominate. Right.
Maryland, Ohio State. Ohio State continues on, 7th in the country. They win 66-17. CJ Stroud is looking pretty good.
Second straight game with 5 touchdown passes. Their wideouts are running wide open when he's throwing them touchdown passes. Nobody in that conference that can cover these dudes. But I just mentioned, with Oklahoma struggling each week, Ohio State loses, but yet they're beating the teams they should beat by the margin you expect them to win by. And they're looking good doing it.
Right.
They're not struggling with unranked teams kicking field goals at the end of the game to win 16-13, stuff like that.
Yeah. Michigan knocks off Nebraska 32-29. Michigan continues to go undefeated.
This is one of those survive and advance games. Like Nebraska played very well. The quarterback, we watched the first game of the year they played against Illinois. The quarterback's the issue. All the kid can do is run, but he's a turnover machine.
Right.
What does he do in this game? Turns the football over late to ice the game for Michigan. And it kind of felt sorry for him because Nebraska played pretty damn well. Yeah. But Michigan won again, survived and advanced.
6-0. BYU loses to Boise State 26-17. We didn't see this one, but it's unfortunate. BYU is pretty much out of the discussion.
Yeah, BYU is one of 3 teams that has yet to trail coming into this week's games. It was BYU, Georgia, and Alabama, and all 3 teams ended up trailing. Alabama obviously lost, and BYU lost, and Georgia trailed. So that streak went out the window. So it was a tough week. But I did not expect that. I thought BYU was going to take it to Boise State. They're not the Boise State of old. No. But it was a good game to watch.
That's right. The Flying Mel Tuckers get it done against Rutgers 31-13. They go to 6-0.
They're looking good. That Naylor kid at wideout looks real good. The running back's pretty good. Flying Mel Tuckers, he's got him playing well.
Yep.
Undefeated.
That's right. And we got a shootout, 52-51. Ole Miss defeats Arkansas.
Another crazy game, just as good as the Oklahoma-Texas game, in my opinion. I really feel for Arkansas. Scoring a touchdown to basically kick the extra point, tie the game, and they go for two. Credit to Sam Pittman. He said in the post-game press conference that he told his team, if we go down the field and score, we're going for two. So he had the thing planned the whole time. It was a rollout play. You know how I feel about rollout plays. You basically just negate half of the field. And it didn't work. They lost. But, that was a ballsy move. If it works, we're basically talking about Sam Pittman, making one of the best coaching decisions. I already think Sam Pittman's the coach of the year.
Yeah.
Go along with that. Ballsy move. Yeah. And, I like what Lane Kiffin said. He's like, we played as bad a defense as you could possibly imagine, and we still found a way to win. So Ole Miss, man, they're fun to watch.
They came to play.
Yeah.
They came to play. Notre Dame knocked off Virginia Tech 32-29. It's just Notre Dame is just winning games by the hair of their chin.
It reminds me a lot of Oklahoma. They're winning games, but they're not looking that impressive doing it. And eventually it's going to bite them in the ass, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it did. They lost. They lost to Cincinnati, which...
They were up on Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's a good football team. Yeah. But I kind of think if Notre Dame keeps doing this, they're playing a lot of unranked teams. Eventually someone's going to get them.
Right.
A lot of quarterback issues going on there. Injuries and guys getting benched and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Kentucky knocked off LSU to go 6-0. 42-21. Ed Orgeron's on the hot seat.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get fired already. Kentucky's 6-0 first time, I think, since 1972, something like that.
Coming to Athens this week.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing well. Their bread and butter is running the football. QB is a big guy. He runs it too. They kind of remind me a lot of Arkansas in that respect with the QB running, kind of setting up their pass. They're not as much of a passing threat as Arkansas is. Defense is pretty good. They're a good football team. I kind of envision a scenario where the season ends and they're sitting there at 11-1, looking at a New Year's bowl bid. New Year's Six rather.
Yeah, I mean that's well within the grasp. Right?
Yeah, things shake out a crazy way.
Yeah,
they might be in the playoffs.
You never know. Wake Forest surprisingly 6-0, win 40-37 against Syracuse. I had no idea the Demon Deacons were undefeated.
I did, but I didn't even pay attention to this game. I saw they went in, and I was like, whatever, that's Wake Forest. Good for them. And then, no disrespect, but I'm not really paying attention to Wake Forest and Syracuse.
Vanderbilt gets shut out again by a surprising 4-2 Florida team that's just kind of hanging around.
Vanderbilt, gosh, Jesus. I understand why they're in the SEC and why the SEC wants to keep them, because in every other sport they're good.
Yeah.
But God, football, they're just so bad. They're just not even remotely close to being competitive. It's kind of a downer.
Yeah. And we'll run through these last two real quick. SMU defeated Navy 31-24 to go to 6-0. And San Diego State knocked off New Mexico to go to 5-0. So that's that for that. Talk about the schedule for next week.
Well, before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit more about the playoff thing I was mentioning. This was a season that was kind of shaping up. Ohio State had lost Oregon, and they kind of fell out of the top 5. Clemson's nowhere to be found. It was shaping up that there's going to be some, what I would like to call the usual suspects, are not in the playoffs, maybe in Alabama, and that's pretty much it for the usual suspects. But now it's looking like Oklahoma and Ohio State are right back in the swing of things, especially Oklahoma. I can see a scenario where the playoff committee puts in Oklahoma over an undefeated Cincinnati. Even though Cincinnati's ranked higher, the two go undefeated. I still feel Oklahoma's getting in because of the brand of the Oklahoma Sooners. Whether that's fair or not, I don't really know. But we're shaping up to now see where maybe 2 of the usual suspects can maybe jump back in that were kind of out of it before. I don't really see anybody beating Ohio State again the way they've been playing. Right. So I see them as a one-loss conference champ getting serious consideration. I don't think Cincinnati's losing. No. I don't think Oklahoma's going to lose again, but they're not playing well. They're winning close games, having to fight throughout the entire game. Somebody might, sneak up on them like Texas almost did yesterday. But that's not going to happen with Cincinnati. Yeah. I'm kind of thinking there's a really good possibility that Cincinnati gets left out. We got a long way to go. I'm just kind of spitballing here.
I mean, there's number 3 in the country. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see them dropping 2 spots right now unless something miraculously happens.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio State's got to run the table. And Bama's got to run the table, win the SEC title game. There's a lot to be said about what's going on this season.
There could be
chaos.
Undefeated Big Ten team to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. You never know what could happen there. I mean, I think we're going to see at least one loss conference champ in there. I just kind of don't really think with 4 really good name brand schools, an undefeated Cincinnati gets in. I could be wrong. I'm not dogging Cincinnati at all. I like Cincinnati. I'd love to see them in the playoffs. I think they're legit good.
Right.
I'm just kind of thinking here, like, are they really going to hold, a 1-loss conference champ Ohio State, or maybe in an undefeated conference champ Oklahoma, both ranked below Cincinnati? Are they going to jump them? And I think that they will, which is unfortunate.
All right. Well, since we're talking about Cincinnati, they're going to play at noon against UCF in Cincinnati. Right now, you get tickets for $73. Pretty cool.
That might be a pretty good game.
Might be.
So UCF's not bad. I know that. I think Dylan Gabriel's still out, but they can still put up some points. They're a little bit better on defense than they've been. Gus Malzahn, playing pretty good for him. He brought one of his best defensive players from Auburn over with him to UCF, and that guy's playing good. Big Cat Bryant. That could be a tough game for Cincinnati, but I still don't think they lose.
Yeah. There's going to be interesting games coming on at noon on Saturday. You got Michigan State, Indiana. Indiana's liable to, play up to the competition, undefeated Michigan State. You got Oklahoma State, undefeated, playing Texas. Those are 2 ranked teams playing at noon. You got the Auburn-Arkansas game. You've got the always rivalry, Florida against LSU.
Hopefully nobody throws a shoe.
Sometimes it happens.
A&M's got to play Missouri, which Missouri's god-awful.
Yeah. So, we don't know what we don't know what A&M team's going to show up Saturday.
True. And, they've got a couple of, mulligans on their schedule now with the 2 losses, and it's like, after beating Alabama, you think that maybe they'd be right back in the thick of things. But unless something crazy happens, they're out.
Yeah, they're playing for pride right now. Georgia versus Kentucky is the big game. That's where game day is going to be again.
And SEC Nation, I think it's called.
Right now, tickets are going for $241. We will be at that game.
I got 1 extra ticket to sell. I'm going to try and make some money on that one.
That's right.
That'd be a good game. I think that's going to be Kentucky's strength going into Georgia's strength. Georgia's, I think, favored by like 24.5 points. So, Vegas isn't wrong a lot.
No.
They've been putting big spreads on these Georgia games that a lot of people think that are going to be tough games, and Georgia's covering them. So we'll see what happens. I think this is going to be a really good big test for Georgia.
And there's also supposed quarterback controversy that they're trying to get started yesterday on CBS broadcast. There's no controversy.
There's no controversy.
No, there's not. Iowa takes on Purdue, and Iowa is the number 2 ranked team in the country right now. How about that?
Good for Iowa.
Yeah.
They're not like super fun to watch because they don't put up a ton of points. They're just so workmanlike, and I just like watching them because of that. It's not. You better have an energy drink or two, or like a big coffee when they start playing because they're kind of boring. You might want to take a nap, but it's a fun experience. They had the stadium like checkered, so like one section they were all yellow. That's awesome. I think more schools should do that. That's badass.
Yes. BYU will be taking on Baylor. BYU's 19th in the country now. They got 1 loss.
Baylor's got 1 loss.
They got 1 loss as well. So that's just a good matchup.
I like the way BYU schedules. It's just fun.
Yeah. Miami takes on North Carolina at 3:30.
Who just lost to Florida State. You're getting beat by Florida State, you got some problems.
Bama will try to bounce back against Mississippi State. I would hate to be Mississippi State.
Oh, yeah. Mississippi State's screwed.
It's going to get bad.
It's a pissed off, angry Alabama. You don't ever want to face that.
Yeah, and Alabama's 5 in the country right now, so needless to say, they'll be marching back up.
The game that everyone's kind of been talking about this morning is that Ole Miss Tennessee. Tennessee's rolling offensively under Josh Heupel. Ole Miss is rolling offensively. Ole Miss is number 13. They got 1 loss coming against Alabama. They're talking about, bet the over on this game. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of points
I'm sure there will be.
Tennessee is way ahead of schedule. And they mentioned that today on the highlight show I was watching, that they're ahead of schedule. Heupel's got that offense playing well. They lost so many dudes on their team from last year. They weren't that good last year, but the best guys on the team all transferred. And he's got them playing well. Defense, not that great, but not that bad. They're the number 10 rushing team in the country right now, averaging like 230 yards rushing per game.
All right.
So Tennessee, I don't think they're going to, they'll probably go to a bowl game this year. I mean, I don't think they're going to lose to maybe other than they'll probably lose to Georgia. Well, yeah, so, Georgia, Alabama's still on the schedule, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. That could be 4 more losses, and they've already got 2. So they could go 6-6, go to a bowl game. But I think they're primed to be doing something good here pretty soon.
It's good for them. TCU will be playing at Oklahoma, which it might be another shootout, and Oklahoma may take it to the brink
Kick a
again.
field goal to win the game, 27-26.
Yeah. And Arizona State will play Utah at 10 p.m. on Saturday night at Utah.
So, and for the record, I don't have anything against Oklahoma, nor do I have anything against Texas.
Right.
I just watched that game.
Nobody plays defense.
Yeah, it wasn't even the defense. Like, I can see, maybe busted coverages. It was the fact that dude just could not tackle. It's like they don't practice it. It was that bad. So many times it was quarterback sacks, or the quarterback's kind of like they just put a shoulder into the guy and he just kind of stands there and throws it. It was awful, and I just have a hard time believing teams that play that bad defense fundamentally are in the top 4.
Right. Well, here's another game Friday night. Number 9 Oregon takes on California at 10:30. That might be a good one. You never know.
Oregon's screwed. They just lost their running back for the season. They'll probably still go. Well, they know they lost to Stanford, so Stanford will have that. Well, no, Stanford's got a couple losses. So Oregon should still be the Pac-12 North champion to go that conference championship game. I don't really think it matters if they win. I don't think they're getting in the playoffs. But, they can still be conference champs.
They wouldn't lost Oregon, and if all these other teams start losing, they're going to slip in there.
I mean, they beat Ohio State at Ohio State.
That's
and
a big
the way
win.
they're rolling, that win looks better and better each week.
Yeah, so I think they're setting pretty. They just got to wait everybody out and win out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to conclude this week's episode. We'll be doing the Kentucky thing, Georgia thing this weekend, so we'll try to get another video to you guys on Sunday.
3:30 game.
Here we go.
I'm kind of not liking the 3:30 games anymore. Because if it's a noon game, you can still get back in time to watch night games. 3:30 games, you watch a little bit of the noon game, and then you got to listen on the radio to the games or watch on your phone while you're driving home, and you kind of get home and all the night games are over. I'm kind of not really digging 3:30. Just give me all night games, all 7 o'clock kicks. And
there you go. There we go. I like them too. All right. Well, that concludes this week's episode. You guys have a good one.
See ya.